Welcome back to the Get Mellow podcast. I'm Megan, a life coach helping people break negative cycles and build a life that feels good to love. This is your weekly space to slow down, reflect, and find simple insights that create real change. Let's get into it. On this week's episode, I sat down with my mum to hear her perspective on me starting to drink and on watching me leave alcohol behind. I've shared a lot of my own story on this podcast and on my page, but this time I wanted to bring in a voice that saw it all from the outside, from a parent's point of view. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, please let me know. All right, Mum, welcome to the podcast. You're my first ever guest, and thank you for the last minute acceptance because I only called you this morning to get you on. But before we get into anything, how are you feeling about being on the podcast?
Well, you did just put me on the spot this morning, but sure, as always, I can't say no to you. So I am a wee bit nervous, because, well, we have talked a lot, like, to each other, but we haven't real, this is going to be public, so, and that's some of it's maybe a bit personal, so I feel a bit nervous, but let's do it.
Yes. And there probably will be things that we haven't spoke about that we're going to share publicly, but if it helps one person or one parent going through maybe a similar thing, then that's obviously the main aim of the podcast and anything else that I put out anywhere. What have you? Obviously, I know you've been on my meditation sessions for 2 or 3 months now. But have you listened to any of the podcasts so far, and what do you think of it?
I have listened to your podcast and I think they're great. But I suppose this will be a bit different because you're interacting with someone else. Your first ones have just been you. But yes, they're lovely. But sure, I'm always going to be biased.
And well, we'll just get right into things. I obviously have spoke to you roughly about what I want to kind of share on this, and I've shared loads on my own page about my own story and what it was like for me kind of stepping away from alcohol. But I've never had the perspective of what it was like for you. So I just want to go right back to like before I even started drinking, like how would you have described me and like what kind of person I was?
Well, you were like easy. You were always like an easy child. Just very loving, caring, loved your football, loved your sport, loved your food, loved the water in Rossnyla. And I suppose you run between the two boys, and you were just an easy child.
Mm. And then I suppose whenever I first started drinking, like, can you think back to that period of my life and what you remember seeing at the very, very start whenever I first started to drink?
I just think from the very start with you, it was messy. And I think parents struggle because, they're trying to be your friend as well as parent you.
Mm,
And also, I mean, like if we're going to be honest, you come from a family that we socialized a lot, where drink was involved a lot.
yeah.
So, that was kind of there was always a party. Um, and you were used to being around drink, which sometimes I probably have had guilt about. But then again, you know, lots of people grow up in those circumstances and can be quite controlled when it comes to their relationship with alcohol or whatever. So um, I just think you were quite young. It was to the extremes, and I worried a lot. Um, and you kind of didn't really listen, or, you know, things like not coming home, not answering your phone,
Aye.
not, like it was, and that probably wasn't at the very, very early stage, but for me, your relationship with alcohol escalated quite quickly from probably 16 to 18.
Aye.
And then going to Glasgow was definitely not a good choice for you at that
Yeah.
time. Well, you didn't know that it wasn't a good choice for you, but both me and your father could see it, but you didn't really want to hear it. And at that point, you're an adult and you're away at university. And as a parent, your control becomes less and less. And you really weren't somebody that was able to be controlled.
No.
Control is a wrong word.
Yeah.
Control's the wrong word. You probably didn't want to listen to direction or
No.
advice. Now, that said, there was plenty of Mondays or Tuesdays when you really were very, very down on the floor after the weekend, and then you might have wanted to listen.
Aye.
But they lasted until Friday.
Mm.
The cycle started again, and then I mean, when you went to Glasgow, it was just a constant kind of worry because we hadn't a clue what was going on. And then that weekend that we went over, I mean, I think I cried most of the way back because I just knew you were in a terrible place. I wanted to
Aye.
take you home with me just.
Aye. And how did it feel? Like, what was the worst part of feeling like you're constantly worrying and also seeing where I was going and not being able to maybe pull me back and wanting me to make my own decisions? Like, what was the hardest part of that?
Well, you're just so torn because I mean, like physically you were changing. Our relationship was changing because you were defensive.
Mm.
Um, and it's such a fine line where, as a parent, Adam, and I'm probably speaking for your father too, like you don't want to be seen as being as criticizing or that you're a disappointment because that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
Every part of what we were feeling was from how much we loved you, and we just, where was that person who went to university to do sport? Like, I don't know, did you even go to university? I mean, I know
No.
you told me that you did some days, but I would say it was very little. Like when the Royal Scot, that was all we heard about. And when we went over that weekend, and it was one of the maddest places I was ever in, I just thought, oh no, is this for my Wayne is now? I just want to get her home. But like
Aye.
we couldn't force that on you at that. You had to come to that yourself. And it just was it was a worry. As for every parent when their child goes to university and
Aye.
the way, because at least when they're on the town you know what's what. And but that was hard. And I mean, there was no talk about sport, there was no talk
No.
about football, there was no talk about your career. I mean, really and truly, you were going to leave university and work in the pub.
I
That was
know. And for anybody that doesn't
that.
know, for anybody that, well, there's a lot of people that won't know what the Royal Scot was, but can you just in a couple of sentences explain what that pub was like whenever you went over to see me that I was working in
Not
at the time?
and I do want to say, because I mean, there's nothing wrong with working in a pub. I worked in a pub. It was a lovely pub. It was probably one of the roughest places I've ever been in, with the roughest, like, scary kind of people. Drugs were like readily there, and very, some kind of dangerous looking people as well. It just wasn't somewhere that anybody would have been happy for their son or daughter to, probably at 18, just fresh
Aye.
from leaving Strabane, um, to have been. I mean, the nights where you were on, I don't know, River Club to whatever time of the night, or you were somewhere, I'd have been searching for you on maps and you were at a party and say you were, well, I was able to go and get you,
Aye.
or I was able to get somebody to go and, one of maybe your older cousins to suss out what was happening, or, you know what I mean? But when you were there, that was kind of that was probably the biggest time of worry because we weren't there.
Aye. And what I remember, like at the time when I was working there, I thought there was no place like it. And I'll never forget my brother Jack and his girlfriend Chloe coming over, and they were the same. They were gobsmacked when they walked in. They were just like, "What the hell is going on?"
I know.
And
And
for
we had,
anybody, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we had a couple with us that weekend, really good friends of ours from yous were all children, like, and friends with
Aye,
them. And like, I just remember saying to them, oh, we need to get her home. How
aye,
get her away? We need to get her away from here, but we can't tell her to do that, so it has to be her decision, you know. So I just remember clearly being, I think I was in tears with Linda. I was just like, I need to get her home. I need to get her away from me here.
and that was in the because I think well, if I remember, well, I went to university in the September. And I think between the September and October, I'd put on about 3 stone. And as you say, I went to do sport. I think I probably went about 5 times out of the whole year because I was just drinking, eating my way through it. And 3 stone had went on in a very short period of time. But I think you came over to see me it was before Christmas, was it?
It was. It was. And I mean, it was like we'd left you there at the beginning of September. Like, I don't think anybody could actually, unless they seen it, realise the transformation in such a short time.
Aye,
It was just like you didn't even look like yourself.
aye,
And you were so I mean, I knew you were so unhappy.
aye. Yeah. That was probably the lowest point I would say was
Aye.
then.
Yeah.
Um, because obviously when I went to uni, that's when the drugs started and then continued. Um, and did you feel like I suppose from the time that I started drinking, like that you couldn't really say anything to me, like you were always walking on eggshells?
Well, I was like, well, when you were living here and you were still at school, then I definitely felt like I could say, Megan, that's we're not having that.
Aye,
You're not come home in that state, or not come home for 2 nights and just think that that's okay. Um, but I don't really think those 16 to 18 when you were here, that wasn't really when it was very bad. It was
mm,
after Glasgow and when you came home. To be honest, that's 16, 17, 18. Yes, there was very messy times looking back on it now, but probably, a lot of people that age would have been, in
aye,
situations. What used to worry about me about you as well was, you'd have come home with injuries. I mean, like cuts and bruises and clothes that were ripped and I think, oh my God, Jesus, what that
aye,
kind of thing. Um, but I think really and truly the work when it for in my mind, and your memory might be different, but the worst was after probably Glasgow and after because it definitely escalated a lot more.
aye. And the no phone, the last one of the phones as well. Sure, we were on the O2 shop more times than I can count.
Well, sure, that
They loved
fella.
seeing us coming.
Aye, it was a corky, you call him.
Aye, aye,
That's God I love. Did you? Megan goes out and you're here. We're getting. I mean, it was beyond a joke, like really,
aye,
and those kind of things. I think to myself, why were you not stronger? you know, why did Anne not say, do you know what, Megan? No, not this time.
Aye.
But then again, I would have had no way of knowing and being, you know,
Aye. If I was going out without my phone, like.
aye,
And then when I came back from Glasgow, and I think, well, I went straight at, I think I started working in O'Neill's straight away. And for anybody listening that doesn't know what O'Neill's is, the factory in Strabane. Um, but obviously I held down a good, I was working full time there, but it was just a constant party. And then at the weekends and right up until I went to Canada. So it was about maybe 2 or 3 years that I was home.
aye.
And what was that kind of period like?
Did hold down your job and you went to your work, but every weekend was a constant. It just started on the Friday, and every weekend was mum on. It'll not be the same. This I'm just going for a couple, and that was it. Like I might not have seen you day Sunday,
Aye.
and you know, and then it was just the cycle. You were back at work again, and you worked really hard. There were a few occasions where you shouldn't have been going to your work,
Aye. I
but
know.
you did, and only that you had youth on your side, but you still shouldn't have been going, and it caused a lot of, I suppose, unnecessary friction between us and our relationship. But I probably, again, at times should have been more not walking on eggshells around you, but it's really hard because I don't know, like, you know, parents sometimes hold themselves responsible as well.
Aye.
And then you get to a point where you have to think, but you're not responsible. This is someone else's own actions, and she's an adult and she fully knows the difference between right and wrong and what makes you fit, you know, and like not responding on your phone, not letting me know where you were, you know, it was like selfish.
Aye.
But you're not,
Definitely.
you're the least selfish person in the world.
Aye. It made me very selfish just because I didn't
Aye.
care about anything else other than
And then I
getting to
suppose
the next party.
I did know then, because I might have been a bit green at times, a bit naive, but then I knew the difference
Aye.
and just drink and drugs because you were completely like at times unmanageable, like being home and then trying to go out the door again at 6 o'clock in the morning when you weren't even in any shape to be going in it, you know, things like that. There was a difference, like, and
Aye.
your behavior.
Aye. Erratic just.
Aye.
And did you like obviously that was a lot to carry for you, and I know we've as at the start we said we have had conversations before, but not I suppose this deep into them. But like, did you only talk to dad about it, or did you have,
Oh
would
no.
you have
I,
spoken?
like, of course, I talked to your dad, and you know, in effect, like your brothers too were probably like they didn't behave like that.
Nah.
I mean, Jack was older, and Jack never would have kind of behaved like that, or you know, like he would have had more. I hate like it's wild hard to say because, but you know, you at times showed like no level of respect at all, and that's hard to say because, like,
Mm,
obviously, you know how like we've had plenty of conversations and plenty of talk, but of course, I talked to Stella and um other people that have children. Like, I mean, you need to be honest. You're not the only young person who drank a lot or who took drugs or who. But the thing with you was you went from not to 100 really quickly.
aye.
And when you did, I used to think you had no self awareness. Like I remember seeing a video one time you were in Dublin or something, um, and like you were like everyone else is there, but you're the one out in the middle of the road, nearly hit by a car. You're the one, you know, always acting like on top of like. You know what I mean?
Aye.
You had no sense of like what could have happened to you, or so
No, not at
constant.
all.
That was a constant worry. And when I think back, you said in your podcast, or you were on a podcast with someone, and you said that, a mum kind of suggested that I go away, which was, and I felt really like, but Jesus, I didn't know that it was me, as if I was sending you away to Canada, because that's not how it was. But at the time, I just thought that there was a cycle that needed to be broke.
Aye.
And the only way it was going to be broke was, but sure, little did I know that you were going to go to Canada. And so, really, I suppose the bottom line is it doesn't matter where you are. If you're in Strabane, if you're in Glasgow, if you're in Canada, if you're in Dublin, if you're back in Strabane, doesn't matter where you are. If you're not breaking the cycle, you're not breaking it. So, you know what I mean?
May 2019.
Yeah.
And what that must have been hard in itself to kind of like,
Well, I
try and
just
get me out.
Well, it was, and I mean, and your fella like struggled with you going to Scotland, never mind Canada, and your Granny Ruby, it just seemed like so far away. But like at that time, there was just the thing was as well, Megan, which she probably didn't say. There were times whenever you might have really been party tired, and then you were flat as a pancake or low for whatever days, and then you would have, right, that's it. I'm slumming world. I'm the gym. I'm all or nothing for 6 weeks. I'm not drinking. I'm not, and and it was all right. Let's get everything in to have healthy meals, and everything's ready for you. And it was kind of, you were like all or nothing, no matter what you were doing. But then it never really, when you did decide, it never really lasted. And then the next time was like you were away mental. You know what I mean?
I went back all the harder.
You went back all the harder. So I suppose I just kind of thought maybe the opportunity of, like, you love outdoors, the skiing, all of that. And I definitely, and I mean, let's be honest, you all took a bit of hand out of me about being a bit naive and whatever, but I totally thought, didn't even realize that the like of certain drugs were legal in Canada. Had no idea about any of that. I just thought you were going away to love this like idyllic life.
Aye.
You know,
Hmm.
that's not, that wasn't the reality either.
Aye.
Although you were older,
Yeah.
I definitely don't, didn't have the same worry or fears or feelings that I had when you were in Scotland. For me, that was the worst.
Yes. Yeah.
That was, but then again, I wasn't aware of everything in Canada
Yeah.
until you told me. You were able to keep that. There was a time difference. There was,
Yeah.
but there just wasn't the same. I, and you were older, so I was. You know what I mean? I wasn't kind of prying into everything the way when you were in Glasgow. I suppose I was constantly kind of keeping,
Aye.
you
But I
know,
think it also I had met Sarah shortly after arriving in Canada as well, which I don't know. I don't want to put words into your mouth, but that might have eased the worry a wee bit
oh, definitely. Sure.
for
It was,
Sarah.
you know, oh well, she's met this beautiful girl now from Dublin. She can see where
She can
that's
deliver, right?
that's awful. I don't mean it like that, but you know what I mean. I did also think she's bound to settle down now, because you kind of knew straight away that you had very strong feelings for Sarah.
Aye.
He was the one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I there was a definite not that I stepped away or anything like that, but there was a definite kind of more contentment for me, and I had no idea about the amount of partying and drinking that was going on there. I don't
Aye.
have any
The le-
idea.
Aye, well, the less you knew, probably the better off then. Because,
But
well, I suppose that took us up, like, we went there in May 2019, and then it was the 2021 winter season where I was skiing, and then obviously that the 2022 in the April when it was when I said I would just do a month away from it. So, like, did you, well, and we've said this before, Granny was sick at that time, so it probably wasn't even you weren't thinking about it. But did you think that I would do longer than a couple of
no,
months, or what was your when I said, do you know I'm going to try and do a year?
no, and remember, I didn't know anything about, you're like that you and Sarah falling out and you lying in the snow at -18 and you could have, like, I didn't know any of that until much later.
Later, yeah.
So no, I didn't really think, m- and I don't mean this to sound, but I suppose all the times before you were going to do it, and it was just a fad. Like, you went through a lack
Aye,
of healthy, so I didn't really think much. But when you came home and the way you spoke to me about it, I kind of thought that she really means this.
aye. Something felt different, like.
Something felt different, probably maturity. You were
Mm.
you were happy with set. You were very content in your relationship. Um, no, I do think there was. I felt more that you were. You were didn't know that you would do it for for the next 4 years, but
How would you say our relationship has changed in these last 4 years?
um, well, for me, like, as a mother, like, a mother's always a mother, so you know what I mean. Your relationship as mother and daughter, but as it's a lot more mature relationship. It's a lot more honest relationship because I can say things to you now,
Aye,
whereas before I was always watching
aye.
because you were very defensive.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um, so I would have been, and maybe you didn't, maybe, like, but there's a guilt card played as well. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm not good enough for, I'm not
aye,
daughter, or I'm not this, or I'm not, and none of that's real. Like, that's
aye.
it, and you use those. If I had been saying, Megan, like, you can't continue like this, you can't, you know what I mean? So
Hmm.
all that kind, but all that kind of, I suppose, like, making feel guilty, or I don't know what way to explain it. But that's probably every parent has that about trying to watch what you say. But I just think we've got a very mature, very open and honest, like, we can talk about anything. And we
Aye,
talk about things that happened that we didn't really speak about
yeah,
until you had stopped drinking for a long time. You know what I
aye,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Some of
like,
the many blackouts that I had, like
aye.
that
And so,
you experienced and I didn't.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Aye.
And
I
I
didn't
just
want to.
want to I just want to go back a wee bit to like whenever obviously I came back and whenever I was talking about leaving alcohol behind and really trying it and you thought to yourself, Jesus, she sounds serious this time. Like how did it feel for you to think, oh my God, I think it's going to be, a real change?
I just felt like I think I was probably really happy because, I mean, I've drank all of my adult life, and
Aye,
I drank,
aye,
and I was drinking your brothers and your aunties and whatever. But I just don't think it ever made you that happy.
No.
And you know, you were happy in the early wee, but it never really, I don't know if it ever actually agreed with you, or you know, your like your personality is so bubbly and happy, and you know, the way you see the world and the way you see people and things, whereas um like alcohol and that distorted that
Yeah.
you were,
Aye.
you know what I mean? So I was happy, and I never had to worry. And also, I was probably really happy because you were in such a lovely relationship with Sarah. But if you hadn't stopped, that relationship wouldn't have lasted. Sarah couldn't have probably handled
No,
that.
definitely not.
You
And it was
know,
like around that time when she obviously, and for anybody listening, I'm not going to go into the full story because I've already done it in one of the other episodes about the story about me blacking out and stopping drinking. And Sarah obviously asking me that question of, am I going to have to call home someday and tell your mum something's happened to you? Like she wouldn't have, I don't think, I think she would probably was closer than I even knew to being like, this is too much.
yeah,
Um, because it's not, it wasn't even, it caused me to be angry, but it was more causing me to be jealous and making up scenarios in my mind that weren't real. And then, like, you know, and it got to the stage where she could literally see the switch flip and she knew like something, like something's going to happen here or she's going to say something, like, which is awful for her. Like,
yeah,
um, but when I told you that story then actually of her asking that question, like, I mean, if she had it, if Sarah had said to me, "You better stop drinking or you better do this," like I wouldn't have, I probably wouldn't have stopped. It would have went all the harder. But it was the question that kind of changed everything
yeah,
for me.
yeah. And you know, like I remember that first time you said it, and I think I probably cried because the amount of times that I did think, Jesus, is something going to happen to her? You know what I mean? But the fact that Sarah recognized and said that, and
Right.
that's what changed everything for you, is like amazing.
If there's a parent listening right now who is where you are, like watching their child struggle, what would you say to them?
Just have the conversation, and like I did try, as I probably should have. I probably should have faced spoke to you more openly sooner.
Hmm.
Um, I kind of regret that I didn't do that. And even when you come home from Glasgow, I was just that happy to have you home,
Aye.
that happy that you were here, that I really didn't then want to rock a boat with you.
Mm.
I wanted to make, you know, like you can do, you know, Megan, you're an adult and you've lived away, and you know, I know that you can do what you want and I don't, blah blah blah. But really and truly, you know, I should have probably been saying, you know what, Megan, this isn't acceptable in my house.
Aye.
You know, I maybe should have been more upfront like that with you. Whereas no, I was afraid. I was afraid to rock the boat with you. And
Aye.
maybe if I hadn't, maybe if I had have spoke up sooner and said, like, I know what you're at or whatever, and also I never I never would have thought to look and see where there was support even for me,
Aye.
or where there was support for, you know, and probably didn't recognize that you needed support. Probably thought that this is just, you know, she's just going through a bad time. It's normal enough. You know, past relationships hadn't been good, different things.
Aye.
But, you know, I suppose if you're constantly worried about your child when they go out,
Aye.
constantly worried about the situation, that are they going to get into a situation, are they going to come home, are they, you know, there's signs. Like I've two other grown children who I probably didn't
No, have that
worry,
worry about.
you
Aye.
know, probably worried with Jack. He was the first, so it's all your first experiences. But even as he got that, but no, it's not wasn't the same. They
No.
they always come home more or
Aye.
less. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Or told you where they were, or told you what they were doing, or were with their friends. I mean, like you ended up with complete random strangers
Aye.
times.
I went out with this one group and I never wouldn't have stayed with them for 5 minutes because I was just always like, looking for something else. Like always searching for like what was like the next party or the next, you know, um,
And you did have great friends,
I
and
know.
they helped as well with how you, because quite often they ended up like their nights ended up
Oh, I looking
because
after me.
they looked after you,
Aye.
and until a certain point where you were not. They just basically had to say, you know what, there's nothing more we can do.
Aye. Well, I'll never forget I was we were over on holidays, a girls' holiday, and I was completely off my head and just we were a bunch of random people and they were just, and I never one of them said to me, like, you're going down a bad road here. And I just seen red and just thought, who the hell does she think she is? Like,
You know,
and only somebody trying to look out for me. But you don't see that at the time, obviously. It's only from stepping back and
no,
um
look, you're still really good friends
exactly.
those people, so
Yeah.
you've managed to save relationships at times. So that shows you how good of friends that you had. And for me, that probably was give me a bit of which is wrong because I think, oh, she's grand tonight, she's for them girls.
Mm.
You know what I mean? But
Aye.
sure, you went out with them girls, but sure that 2 days later you come home and God knows where you'd been in between.
And
No, and it wasn't like every weekend, but you just had a bit of a
well, I never drank to enjoy a drink. I drank to get drunk. Like that was
yes.
the goal. You
Mm,
know, from the first drink, I was like, I'm getting drunk. Like,
mm,
and as quickly as possible. Usually was how it was going to go.
mm,
Um, and like even with Sarah, like if she had a seen a or a switch flip in me, you maybe then have a wee line to try and perk yourself up and take, pull your
mm,
like, which was it's not good. Like, and then I think there's such a view on it all. It's just like, oh, it's just the way things is. It's just a rite of passage. That's just the way. But it doesn't
mm.
have to be if you are
No.
struggling.
And like this, I mean, I can't. For anybody listening to this podcast that knows me, knows I love a drink.
Aye,
Crack. I love a party. I love all
aye,
that. But for you, you didn't. You kind of. I'm sure there were times you had great times.
aye. Of course.
So many times that they weren't great,
Yeah, yeah,
and you put yourself into situations that you shouldn't have been in.
aye. And
Um,
when
and
you
you
look
don't.
at, oh, sorry,
And
go
you be
ahead.
like, you behaved in ways that towards me or towards your brothers that you never would have. Like that wasn't
No,
you
no.
ever. You know.
And then you're constantly picking up the pieces then
Uh,
afterwards. And then you're having to, you don't even know what you've done wrong, but you're having to apologize. But they're having to tell you what you've done wrong first. And then it's like, right, I need to say sorry now, even though I don't remember.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and
And the
when you
many
look at,
probably didn't even have the heart to tell you
no,
half because you were in such like that couple of days after you know you literally went to your work and
went to
took.
bed.
Do you know what I mean? And I just didn't thought, oh, she feels bad enough. I can't even be starting now and those kind of things. You probably think to yourself, would you have been better being aware of everything, or I don't know.
Okay.
But sure, look at you now, and look at the much you've worked on yourself and helping and supporting other people. And I think what you really do, and probably, you're not telling people what to do. You're just helping them to help themselves.
Aye. I think and the best way to describe the way that I coach people is exactly what Sarah did for me. It's asking questions so that they can answer themselves because
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
enough people trying to tell people what to do, but it's when you get the answers for yourself. When she asked me that question, do you want me to call home and tell your like am I gonna have to call home and tell your mum something's happened to you? I had to answer that question for myself and the answer was no. And all the
yeah.
blackouts that I had and all the close calls all came running back to me at one time and I was thinking, fucking hell, like you know, when is a close call going to be too
Aye.
close? Like, and that one was too close for comfort. And then again, and that's what my coaching is like. It's like I ask you questions so that you can get those answers.
Like it's such a hard thing as for parents, and it's such a hard. Like you, at times you were like that, but then sure you worked hard all week and you were brilliant. You're so easy.
Aye, aye,
But then it just changed, and and there were times that you had a drink and you were great,
aye,
but it was for you realizing yourself. I think I don't know if anyone could have told you up until that point any better, but it was just the right time. And Sarah said she just
said the
made
right thing.
herself and she said she asked you the right question. And
Aye,
that's why probably when you're coaching people and also the difference in having someone coaching you and the difference for you maybe with Sarah, like family is it's really hard because the
aye,
close so it's really hard sometimes to have like honest conversations
aye,
because sometimes if you say something and you can't take it back
yeah,
or it's said the wrong way or it's misinterpreted,
mm-hmm,
somebody's saying it to you but you're taking it a completely different way, or do you know what I mean?
aye,
And like that can, probably families have parents and children have fallen out because of some one thing that was said after something or an argument on a night of madness. You know what I mean?
aye,
So I think that speaking to somebody that's not within your family circle to get support is also probably good. And I
aye,
wish I had have thought of that.
mm-hmm. And what would you say to the person that's maybe listening that because it's probably not me in Glasgow time because I wouldn't even be listening to this kind of podcast, but maybe the person that is thinking about it but unsure and they're scared to ask for help or they're scared to change.
I don't know. I don't know because that's kind of your
What
question.
me? Aye.
So I don't
Aye.
know. I
I'll,
didn't.
I'll
That's not
answer it then.
I. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
I answer that question.
Aye. Well, you're probably right to actually push it back on me. That's what I do for my clients, but now you're doing that to me, but that's okay. Um, I would probably say like just send a message, even if it's not to me, even if it's someone that has helped you in the past. Reach out. Don't feel like you're being a burden to anyone. The person that's going to receive your message is going to be wanting to help you, and it's okay not to feel okay, and it's okay to want help. Um, and the first step is literally reaching out, and after that, it'll feel so much easier.
And
Um,
I also think what people need to remember. I worked one time, and I always remember someone saying to me, "Remember, your normal is not their normal."
yeah,
So, you can't judge. Like, there could be somebody who's doing that, who's, you know, young now and they're going for a drink every weekend, they're doing whatever, and they're not affected the
aye,
way they're like, no two people are the same. And, you can't judge. You done your what you wanted to do. It wasn't right for you.
aye,
Wasn't right for you. You
yeah,
know, and you didn't, and thus you chose a path that you're so much happier on. So I think what it is you know, you're not, none of us are like sitting on an ivory tower saying you shouldn't drink, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that.
No.
Adults, people can do what they want,
Aye.
but if it's not making you happy,
Yeah.
if it's causing problems in your relationships with the people closest to you, and if it's having an impact on your health, which it was for you,
Yeah.
for
Mhm.
definite,
Yeah.
uh, and it's kind of, you know, everything that made you, that you kind of enjoyed and got fun out of, like your football and all of that was gone.
Aye.
So
Aye.
I think you need to be really clear, like people can drink and party and have a good time, and they're fine with that, and that's
Aye.
them, and that's it's their lifestyle, and they're happy.
Aye.
It's if you're somebody that's sitting every Monday or Tuesday and you're absolutely sick in the pit of your stomach, and you're thinking, I can't even look at the people in the house there, I can't look at my wife or my brother or whoever because I've, you know what I mean? And then
Aye.
just to say, then you need to think, right, what do I need to do?
Aye. Something needs to change. That's it. It's not everybody's negative.
Definitely not.
No.
Definitely
It's
not.
some people can drink and enjoy it and they don't get the anxiety and they don't get the
Yeah,
feelings afterwards and they don't fucking
yeah.
black out or hurt anybody. But
And I
as
have
you, if you're,
said a couple of times about the relationship, like it could be a case of, like with you, I suppose I would have said, Megan, can you not just go out and have a few, be home
aye,
like it? But you didn't have that relationship. You did not
nah,
have button.
I didn't, nah, it was 0 to 100. Like I say, it was when I was drinking to get drunk. There was no like, we'll just go for nah, it
I
was,
was no end either.
nah, there was no end, nah.
You know what I mean? You never wanted the party to end.
No, at least now though, I feel like I'm like that now, just without the drink. Like
I know.
Sarah had to come up to me on we were at the Dolman sessions on at the weekend on Sunday, and she had to come over to me. It's time to go home now. And I would have, I was there from 4 o'clock to 12, but it's just I get the buzz out of everybody else now instead of being blackout drunk in the corner. I'm actually
Yeah.
experiencing it all. Um, but well, I think we'll wrap it up there. Well, I just wanted to say one more thing. I feel like as you were talking about timing, and I think the timing of it was like obviously Sarah asked the right question at the right time, but when I came home from Canada, I think I had done maybe 4 weeks by the time Granny had passed away, and I just feel like that timing as well. Like I feel like she was just nearly on my shoulder then, just kind of
Aye.
spurring me on
Aye.
to keep going.
And for me, like that was great because I couldn't have had to be worrying about where you were if you were and grieving, and I just could, you know what I mean? I just think
No,
it's been a real struggle, and it
I,
probably would have been a pressure point in our relationship at that time if you had
I,
have not. I don't know. I just, you know what I mean? I just always think it was just amazing having you here and having that like complete support. You were completely present with me.
I, yeah, definitely. Um, well, Mum, I just want to say thanks for coming on as my first ever guest. And I know you were nervous before. I was also nervous before, but I think it was lovely.
Oh God, I don't know. I kind of had a lump in my throat a couple of times. I was thinking, keep it together because
We're
you know,
still recording, so I'll let it go here, and then after this, and everybody who's listening, I'm still working on my editing skills, so just bear with me. I'm sure it'll improve as I go through the weeks, but um, I just thanks to Mum, and please share this with anybody that you think would benefit, and let me know what you think as well. Feel free to reach out, and after this cuts off, you'll hear the wee outro. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you taking the time. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow, leave a review, or share it with someone who might need it. It really helps the podcast grow. And until next week, stay mellow.